Good morning, all. Welcome you to the fourth day webinar of the lecture series Best Practices in Hospitality Management. Today, you have joined one of the most valuable lecture of this webinar series, which is regarding food and beverage management. It will be a much interactive session and important session for you. So our keynote speaker of the session is Professor Chandi Jayawardena, who is the person who has most experience in food and beverage industry in Sri Lanka and other international countries. So today's session, we have three parts. First one is students answering for the Professor Chandi's special questions within 1 or 2 minutes for each student, and then the PowerPoint presentation by the professor, and then we have discussion regarding today's subject. So without taking much time, I invite Professor Chandi to start this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Ishara. Thank you very much. We can continue recording up to the... Okay, so what we decided with the moderator today, we will not record the questions and answers by the students. For sometimes people are a bit nervous, but I want to give a couple of tips today about your thesis, your dissertation. I think that may be useful for you because most of you are completing your master's program. First, I want to thank Ishara. I also want to thank 7 of your colleagues who went online, went to the Global Hospitality Forum and answered. There is one of the 3 papers that you were reading was there, it's posted. And 7 students went there and made some comments. So I have given all of them bonus points. And I hope more of you will do the same thing for the last webinar, which will be next Sunday. I have already posted one of the articles that you have to review on the social media. So if you go to the Global Hospitality Forum, look at it and give some comments. If it is good, if you take part, I give some bonus points. And if your answer is very good, I then exempt you from the question and answer session next Sunday. So today I have given points for Ishara, Teva, Gaya, Major, Devinder, Anushka, and Aruna. So 7 of them took part in that. 2 of them gave some detailed answers. So Ishara and Teva, they have done very well. I am exempting them from talking today. They have got full marks for their contribution online. What I want to first talk about is thesis or dissertation writing. Normally, if it's a PhD, doctoral, it's called thesis. And for a master's level, people normally say dissertation. So I was in your shoes a long time ago, actually 41 years ago. It's actually 39 years ago. I was doing the master's in England at the University of Surrey. It was in international hotel management. We had to do 10 courses and then we are given 6 months to write the dissertation, just like your case. And so a lot of discussions with the professors. And I was the only, and by the way, that was the first hotel management master's program in the world at that time in 1983. Now, of course, everybody, there are so many master's programs. It was like a very unique thing. And when I joined the program, I did fairly well at the exams and all that. And then about the topic, selection of the dissertation topic is very important. I always felt I had a very clear plan. I was 29 then. I was very clear that I want to be a 5-star general manager. I've also decided that I want to first become a food and beverage director of a 5-star hotel. That was my mid-career plan because I had a strong background in food and beverage. I was the executive chef initially, and so that was my plan. And then because I was the only sort of Asian person in the first batch at the University of Surrey, some of the professors suggested, "Oh, why don't you write a dissertation on analysis of the supply and demand of tourism, the bedrooms for tourism in South Asia, or forecasting methods and come with a formula. I was not interested at all on that topic. You know why? Because that topic would not have helped my midterm career goal. My career goal was to be a general manager. I want to first be a food and beverage director. Before I did the masters, I was a hotel manager and I was manager operations for John Keys Hotels. So a lot of experience in resorts, but I want to get into the 5-star international brand chain, and I want to specialize in food and beverage, then become a general manager. So I said, no, I'm not interested in doing some forecasting methods, and that's not what I want. I want to write something about food and beverage. And the professor said, oh, that doesn't sound very academic, you know, it's a prestigious university. I said, no, but that's what I want to do, because I am here for my career progress, not to get some knowledge which I can't use in my career. So anyway, just to make me happy, they said, okay, do a proposal, you know, like what you guys are doing. So I wrote a very detailed proposal. I said, I will write about the food and beverage management in British 5-star hotels. I even said I will work and do research in all the 21 hotels. There were 21 5-star hotels in United Kingdom at that time in 1984. I'm sure there are much more now. I said I will work and research in all the 21 hotels. So I did a very exciting proposal because I was very passionate about this subject. And then they, of course, they approved it. And I got really involved in it. And this I want to show you. This is my thesis, dissertation. It is called Food and Beverage Operations in the Context of 5-star London Hotels. It became London because my professor said covering the whole country will be too much. You have to travel to Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland. And why don't we just focus on London? Because out of the 21 5-star hotels in UK at that time, 16 of them were in London. So they said, okay, I said, okay, I'll do London. So this is the thesis. It's really big. It has 100,000 words, 353 pages. So this is bigger than average PhD thesis, but I got really involved. So I want to just give some comments about this. I just looked at it again after many years. It has a sort of a classical structure. It has 6 chapters. It has a chapter on called Introduction. I think probably University of Colombo, I don't know what standards you have, but you just follow the guidelines you are given. But I'm saying what I did here, and which is sort of a classical structure. So first, the introduction covers the objective, why I'm doing this research, what is the purpose. And then I talk about the previous work done by different scholars who went there before me. None of them have done masters, but there have a couple of PhDs. They wrote certain things about the hotel industry in the UK. So I mentioned those. Then I gave some details about the methodology I'm going to use for my dissertation writing. So that's the first chapter. Second chapter, I actually have written, I was surprised, 60 pages on British 5-star hotels. So I tried to define what is luxury hotels, what is the history of. So sometimes when you do a subject, you have to provide the context, right? So I really got involved in that. Actually, to do that section, I wrote about the history of the British hospitality industry. How many 5-star hotels, how to define luxury, what are the classification systems in the world, and what are the classification systems used in Britain. So it was very in-depth sort of study. Then I wrote another chapter. Chapter 3 is about the administration of the British 5-star hotels or London 5-star hotels. So there I spoke about the other areas. I spoke about the role of the general manager, role of the financial controller, role of the operations, engineering, all those things. And then, so first 3 chapters are providing context. One is introduction, one provides the context of the British 5-star hotels, what is 5-star, and the third one, what is hotel management, what is happening in Britain. And then only I got into the subject. So my subject, the 4th paragraph, looks at the administration, the food and beverage management of London 5-star hotels. Chapter 5 looks at the food and beverage operations in London five-star hotel. So there I focus on the operations, running the restaurants, running the bars, kitchen stewarding, the chef's role, all that. And then, of course, I have the final one on the conclusion. And then I am sort of providing some modules, etc. When I looked at it, this is the size of the work, because any subject that you are researching, if you don't have the passion, you won't get involved in it like this. But I had the passion, I had some expertise, and I want to learn everything about food and beverage management in the developed countries, particularly focusing on Britain. So I actually worked in 20 hotels to do this. I interviewed 120 people, 60 of them are very formal, structured interviews with general managers, food and beverage directors, food and beverage managers, some of the leading executive chefs in that country. Then I did about another 60 informal chats in the meal rooms, etc. Those are not structured, but just brainstorming with operational people. So 120 people I interviewed. I read everything ever written about food and beverage management in English language in the world. I refer to 133 publications. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of master's thesis writing. It should not be just done for the marks. You should bring some passion, some interest, and you should have very clear objectives and read everything ever written on that subject. And then, of course, you add on to the body of knowledge. I spent 6 months writing it, and I ended up writing 100,000 words and 353 pages. So I just want to show it to you because it's on today's subject. My supervisor was Professor Richard Kotas. He soon became my mentor and my boss. I became his assistant in the university a few years later, and I succeeded him as well. He told me, Chandi, I hate you for writing so much, but he had to read the whole thing and give a lot of comments. But at the end of it, he said, Chandi, this is good work. This should be published. I said, publish? I mean, this is in 84, 85. I said, with my name and, English is my second language, I don't write it well. He said, no, it's okay. We will eventually clean it up and publish it. So this is the outcome of that. What the food and beverage, profitable food and beverage management is the byproduct of my master's thesis. So don't write a master's dissertation and then let it collect dust after you get your master's in tourism economics. Do something about it. At least get an article or two published. I mean, book is very ambitious, but I was lucky that my supervisor thought of that idea, and then eventually we published it with his name. He's well known. He had written about 20 books by that time. So it's a 338-page book. It became a standard textbook for many British universities in Australia, in the Caribbean, and English-speaking world. And of course, now it's out of print. So I just want to show you, when you do the master's dissertation, do something that is very close to your heart. Don't let anyone push you to do something that you don't want to do, and do something to suit your goals, needs, help your career. And after you finish it, you get your master's, do something about it. Share that with the general public. Do some articles, and if you can get a book, that's perfect. All right, with that, I'm now going to ask the questions. Today, we are going to do it a little different. I want you to be very quick. You're actually given 1 minute to answer. Maximum 2 minutes. Don't give me long answers. I just want to know whether you have read the article, you understood. Today, what I'm going to do is, I am going to, just to save time, I find that some of you clever ones, when I identify the name and give the question, you repeat the question. So I don't want to waste time on that. Today, I will only mention the name of the student and the number of the question. I want you to read the question and then give the answer. All that within a minute, maximum 2 minutes. All right. So we are going to first talk about the 5 questions related to. Okay. Let me share the screen. Can you see my slide?
Yes, sir, we can see.
Okay, very good. Okay, the first thing is we have to do this. I mean, you know the drill now. We can't be sort of dragging our feet and waste time for everybody. You have to be here. If you are not here, I give a second chance. And then if you don't talk, that's it. So let's, we are not going to answer any questions now. We don't have time for that. So as you know, this is the 4th webinar. Now, do you hear me clearly? Do you?
Yeah, Professor.
Okay, Ishara, thank you. So today is all about food and beverage management. Not that all of you will become food and beverage managers, but you should have some sort of understanding of this key function. Most hotels in the world, particularly if you're a 5-star hotel city center, food and beverage will represent the biggest department and the most complex department to manage. Particularly if a hotel has big banqueting and all that. And roughly about 40% of the general managers come from a food and beverage route. And it's normally take a longer time because you are dealing with a lot of challenges. And about another 40% come from the rooms division or the front office, that area. Other 20% come from finance, marketing, etc. So it's a good route towards the general management. I would like you to answer the question also. There's a question I have put on the chat box. So just say yes or no to that. I already showed this book and my dissertation, which was the book was a sort of a sub-product of the master's dissertation I wrote many, many years ago. So today, in this presentation, I'm going to talk about the profitability part first. That's the one you answered last, because that some of us may get a little bored with that. So I want to finish that first and then go to the management and then end with a lot of slides on events. I want to show you a lot of event related pictures from my life. It's like a show and tell type of thing, 60 slides. So I will go fairly fast. One thing I want to mention is I am a very unusual type of a hotelier. I have been a rolling stone. I've been changing my jobs 26 times, and you don't have to be like me. No, most people will go for stability of a career, work in the same hotel or same company. You get into John Keel's, you're happy, then you spend your whole working life there. I did not do that. I had so many chances to settle, but my personality is that I want a new challenge. I get bored after 2 years. I've done my thing and then go to another one. I change my career totally. You don't have to do that. It's very dangerous to do that. But I just want to show and tell of some of the things I did very unusually, but it worked for me. It may not work for all of us. So let's talk. We know the drill, 3 sections. So we are on the 2nd section now. And if you're outside attending this session, if you want to have the PowerPoint or the past papers, just contact Gaya. She's the coordinator. She will make sure you get the details. Question of the day is it essential for a hotel GM to have a strong background in food and beverage management? Yes or no? Very simple answer. Okay, let's talk about the profit sensitivity analysis. For this section, I would like everybody to unmute yourself because I'm going to ask you guys questions. I want you to make sure that you understand this financial model. You don't have to be an accountant, chartered accountant to understand it, but just the basic concept is important more than the numbers and the figures so that you can at least use it for your benefit. All right, so I would like everybody to unmute yourself because I'm going to ask you questions. So can you unmute yourself? Everybody? Right. Then just put the dog outside so it will be useful. Aruna Tama, unmute karena, I don't know why. Just unmute. Teva, unmute yourself. I'm going to ask you questions. Teva? Anushka? Unmute yourself. All right.
Yes, sir.
Everybody unmute, so I would ask you questions. Okay. So profit, let me explain this in a nutshell, right? I want to explain it very sort of, sometimes, people teach accounting, statistics, economics, try to make these things more complex than they should be. So my job is to simplify it. All right. I think that may be useful for you. So this profit sensitivity analysis was written, actually initially created by Professor Richard Kotas. He's my friend, my former boss, my former supervisor, my professor. He passed away last year. He wrote this some years back, and this particular article is a shorter version of that. I rewrote it with another accountant for the North American readership. This concept talks about a profit multiplier concept, right? It was written by him, created by him, and we further fine-tuned it. We look at 6 types of key factors. When you run a hotel, you have 6 factors. You have the price. It's a tool. You can change it. You can increase it, decrease it, the price. Sales volume is all you do to promote sales. For example, the last case study you read about the events at Hotel Sony, opening the beach party that my team used to organize to 13 or 12 other hotels was a selling tactic. We used the elephant, go up and down, got 400 other people to come to that. And of course, everybody bought a ticket. So that is a sales volume increase tactic that worked well. Then you have the cost of sales. When I was a young executive chef, when I was 21, when I became executive chef, my head office accountant always said, 40% food cost. That's a very old style thing of giving a food cost percentage, because sometimes you can make, if you start selling more expensive dishes like lobsters and all that, where the cost of the food item is higher as a percentage, but you are bringing more money per capita. So sometimes you have to look at different, I am not going to waste a lot of time on that, but menu engineering, and then you look at the revenue, gross profit per cover and things like that, which are far more superior to looking at the cost percentage of food and all that, which is the old-fashioned thing. Anyway, cost of sales. So that's there. Then the payroll is a big cost, right? Particularly in where I live in Canada. I mean, it's a very advanced, one of the 6 richest countries in the world. Payroll is always a problem because people are paid big bucks, and it takes poorer countries pay less to the people, but payroll is an important line item, a cost item. Then you have departmental expenses, which are directly involved with a particular department, whether you are in the housekeeping or kitchen. Then you have undistributed expenses. Now let me ask you a question. What is the difference between a departmental expense and an undistributed expense?
So departmental expenses, it's particularly to that particular department, sir. Undistributed means there are certain costs that you cannot put into a exact department. For example, if you take the electricity, you cannot put into an exact department. No. So those expenses lines under the undistributed.
Very good. Who is this? Is this Gaya who spoke just now?
Yes, sir.
Very good. I know your voice now. So that's a very good, excellent answer. Now, let me ask you a question. Gaya, you work at the Moonpik in Colombo. Now, at the Moonpik, your GM is my good friend. Now, general manager's salary, is it a departmental expense or undistributed expense?
Undistributed expense or the direct.
He's contributing to all the departments, right? But what would be the salary of the executive chef? Does it come in the payroll or undistributed expenses?
It's a payroll thing because he's the departmental head.
Very good. I hope everybody understands this basic concept. Accounts doesn't have to be complex. People who teach that subject make it complex. So it's a very simple thing, right? So just focus on these 6 factors. Let's go to the next slide. This is taken from the article. I hope it's clear to you here. It is the figure 1 given in the article. So it's a example of a profit and loss account thing. Let's go line by line. So we all understand this. Let's look at the first one. Select, it says best practice hotel limited, select P&L data in $1,000, right? What does that mean when you say in $1,000? When you're reading a P&L statement, if it says in rupees 1,000 or in $1,000, what does that mean? Then I will identify people to answer this. I would like Dhanushri Pereira to answer this.
Yeah, for an example, it's MOD says it's 600. So it's in the table, it says in 100,000, we have to multiply it by 100,000, which means that just like we are cutting off the final 3 digits, the 3 zeros.
Very good. So that means the MOD is not $600, it's $600,000. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, again, bindu tunak kahak kara. That's what you are selling. So you should know those basic things. All right, good. Let's look at the line item of rooms. Right? So rooms has 2.840 was their total sales for this period. And it shows there's no cost of sales. Why is that? Okay, let me explain. It's not like running the food and beverage department. Food and beverage department, let's look at the next slide. Food and beverage. It says revenue was 2,560, had a $900 cost of sales. What is that? What does that represent?
That means there is a cost involved when it comes to the F&B, but whereas in rooms you don't find a cost. It doesn't. There will be a cost, a fixed cost, but there won't be any variables.
Right. So that's a good question. Answer. So variable, something variable related to the product you sell. So when you're selling a lobster or a bottle of champagne, there's an actual cost of that, right? So that is the thing that is $900, the food and beverage cost. So how much is that? What's the percentage? If I ask you what is the food and beverage cost percentage of this period, how much is that? 900, you divide it by 2,560. I think it will be about 1/3, right? About maybe 35%, right? All right. So rooms, you don't do that cost of sales because all the expenditure of the rooms, like the laundry and the I don't know, the tissues you put, all those things, the toilet paper, all that goes under departmental expenses. It's not. That's why it's not there. Of course, they have a salary component, and departmental profit is the. When I say departmental profit, it is net profit or gross profit.
This is the gross.
Gross, yeah, departmental, it's a total. So it's not the final bottom line, right? So you made a department, normally rooms division, a good rooms division, department in a 5-star hotel makes about 70% gross profit. Food and beverage doesn't make a lot of profits. It only make about 30% roughly. Depends on everything. So anyway, then food and beverage, you go to the line, right? So they had a cost of sales about 35%. Lot of, can you see the staff? They have the biggest staffing, right? Because entire, when you say rooms in a line item, that includes rooms, front office, everything. You know, this is a simplified P&L. But food and beverage has a huge department. It's more than double the size of rooms division because of the banqueting, bars, restaurants, stewarding, nightclub, all those things. What is MOD? What is the word MOD means what?
Manager in duty?
Sorry?
Manager on duty or something?
No, not manager on duty.
Other department.
It's only English term used for minor operating departments.
Okay.
In a hotel, you have rooms division. Sorry? Okay. So in a hotel, you have rooms, food and beverage, then you have other. Other will be the shops, and if you are renting bicycles, all that, selling postcards, stamps, those are all minor operating departments. Some hotels even put mini bar there. I don't know, some you can also put it under food and beverage. But so these are other departments which are not directly under food and beverage or housekeeping and the front office. So those
Sir, I
are
have
all.
a small question, sir.
Yes.
So with my working experience in two different hotels, one they take the minibar under the housekeeping, and
Yeah,
the other
I
hotel
know
they
that
took
that's
at the F&B. So what is the correct way?
there's nothing called correct. I mean, that is depends on the hotel system. If you are using the standard American accounting system, the gap, that is generally accepted procedure, you will probably put it on the other, right?
Okay.
It doesn't matter. Don't get hooked with this one practice in another hotel, but it is up to that corporation's policy. So I don't care about that. I'm just giving an example here. So you can put it under food and beverage, you can put it under rooms division, but I think it's clearer if you can put it under the other minor operating department. So either way, it doesn't matter. Okay. We will not get into a big discussion. I want to quickly talk about this formula. So then the total sales between these three departments, the whole hotel is 6,000. Cost of sales, you add the 900 to 300, 1,200. And the departmental payroll of all the three major groups of departments come to this amount. Expenses come to this. So that gives a departmental profit of 2,520 out of the 6,000 total. Then below this line, below the GOP or the departmental profit, you are now deducting all the other expenditure like the general manager's salary, the chief engineer's salary, energy, things that cannot be, the definition is anything that cannot be directly apportioned to a department comes below the line. So marketing, for example, energy. So all those things came to another, and especially depreciation and the bank charges, all those things. So you don't break that as a percentage and put it to food and beverage room division. That's a wrong accounting procedure. You don't do that. So here you add all those other things. It comes to 2,040. 2,500 was the departmental profit from the three departments minus the cost that cannot be apportioned to a particular department, 2,040. That gives us a net profit of how much? 480,000. All right. So let's go to the next one. Now, remember those figures. In this figure 2, the base figures, which I try to highlight, are the same figures from the earlier page. You get that, right? The same figures, 6,000, 1,200, all that is reported here now. So these are figures we have extracted from the P&L document of the hotel to do this little formula. This PSA is a formula, calculation. Most accountants don't do it because they don't know it. But at the end of the lecture, I hope you know that. So base figures are taken from the P&L. Remember, I just said 480,000 net profit. Now we are doing a little calculation. You know what we are doing? This is important for you to understand. We are assuming, not that it's 100% realistic, we are assuming we will do a little test. We'll assume that out of those 6 areas, sales, cost of sales, departmental payroll, all these things, we are going to, at a time, increase or decrease, make a variance of 10% of one of those factors and see what happens to the bottom line if you make that change. You are assuming just for this formula that you are keeping all the other 5 elements unchanged. All right. So let's, for this one to understand the basis, let's go horizontal. Look at sales. All right. 6,000 was the total sales for that period of the hotel. Right. And we are now making assumption, we are making a 10% change. Right. So we are increasing all our prices by 10%. Right. So how much more money will you earn from that decision? If you increase all our prices by 10% overnight, not that you will do it practically, it's just for the formula. So you have 600,000, 6 million sales normally. You are now saying, okay, from tomorrow we are going to increase all the prices by 10%. What will be your total sales?
6,600.
Right, 6.6 million, right? Now that is coming under the price. Now tell me, what is the difference between price and sales volume? We are increasing, both are going to 6.6 million, gone up by 10%, but what's the difference between the price increase and the sales volume increase? What is the difference? It's a general knowledge question. Yes?
Price means that we price is something that we give for the selling per unit, it seems, but the sales volume, it's the number of items that you have sold.
Very good. So sales volume means that you have become more aggressive in selling the thing. Now the beach party, what you just read, that is a tactic to increase the sales volume. We send the elephant, we send the front office manager dressed like a fisherman and got 400 extra people. That was a tactic we use. We increase the sales volume. Now out of price is different. Price is you are simply adding 10% to the price. Which of these two things, price increase and the sales volume increase to selling, will have an impact on the cost of sales? For example, if you look at the cost of sales line item, price, it is same, nothing changed because it is the same product. You are not selling more products, right? If you are selling 100 products earlier, you are still selling 100, but you are charging 10% more. Second, sales volume, you are now selling 110 products instead of 10. So there is an impact on the cost of sales here. I want you to understand that. That also goes up by 10%. Are you all with me?
Yes.
All right. So the other things won't change, right? So cost of sales, and then if you look at the payroll, all this line item, nothing changes except you are looking at the departmental payroll. Departmental payroll goes up by 10%. So instead of 1.88, it is now 1.98. So then the departmental profit, that line item, only this one will be gone up by 10%. Instead of 480, it has now gone up by another 48. Understand? Undistributed overhead expenditures, same. Here it goes by 10%. So then you do that calculation and then look at what is the net profit if we, for each element. For example, if we increase the price by 10%, our net profit will go up to over 1 million instead of getting less than 500,000. You get that point? And if you have more salespeople selling and sell the elephant on the beach up and down, that will have an impact on the net profit. It will be little under 1 million instead of 480. So then based on that increase, you are now making a net profit percentage change. So for example, you with that exercise, if you just increase the price, everything else have some reaction, right? Just because you increase the price, everything else won't be same. But for this exercise, we take it as same. But over the next few days, your sales may go down because people don't, it's elasticity of the price. But here we ignore that. So here we are now saying, if we just increase the 10% of the price by 10%, don't do anything else, our net profit will go up by 125%. Just for that moment. If we do more sales techniques and get more people to come to our restaurants and the rooms, 100, it gets double. But if we reduce the cost by 10%, we are only increasing our profit by 25%. So that's the important thing. Let's go to the next one. Now here, what I want to show is the key factor. So we looked at those 6 things. We are now calculating the profit multipliers. Very simple. You will basically look at what are the total percentage increase in that exercise Because we increase the price by every element by 10%, now you divide it by 10%. So 125 divided by 10 is how much? 125 divided by 10 is how much?
12.5.
12.5.
100% divided by 10 is
10%.
10. So basically, because we have exercise, we assume that we increase everything by 10%. Now we are trying to figure out for 1% what is the variance. So that is where the profit multipliers come. So we now know, looking at this particular hotel, our price level has a 12.5 profit multiplier impact. Sales volume is 10. So what you learn from this is, in this particular hotel, we are very revenue-oriented operation. So most of the chartered financial controllers focus on cost cutting. Let's cut the staff. Let's reduce the staff. We have the pandemic now, the Russian war. Cut down the staff. Cut down the expenditure. That does not make a very big impact on your profitability, right? So when I was a young manager, I sort of paid full attention on the getting the sales. Increase, create some new cocktails, get more sales. Because I realized that a very young manager, I did not know this particular concept, but my profits will come automatically because hotels, restaurants, food and beverage operations are very revenue oriented. You need strategies to more selling and things like that. So we took it at 10%. Now assume that tomorrow you get up and you say, well, let me make a 5% change, right? In this particular hotel, 5%. Every profit multiplier you change by, increase by 5%. That means your multiplier remains same, this column remains same, but now you multiply that by which number? 12.5 is our profit multiplier. To look at what is the net profit impact on the change, we multiply that by 5. Understand? Because we assume it for this. So 12.5 multiplied by 5 is 62.5%. If we sell more, increase by 5 times, we make a net bottom line change of 50%. If we cut down all the departmental expenditure, everything by 5%, you only make a little 5% difference of your net profit. Not that is not less important, it is important, but the focus should be revenue generation, selling. So when you know that, you can make some decisions very cleverly. Let's go to the next one. These are my summary points for that article. These are essentials you should remember. You take well-informed decisions because and it is easier to make the profit multiply by focusing on the sales, the pricing strategies. Now, pricing is a more elasticity, right? When you increase the price, you can't assume all same people will come with the hotel or the nightclub. Numbers will go down. But if you do sales promotion, selling, personal selling, that won't, other costs won't change, right? I mean, the cost of sales will change, but everything will else will be there. So you can, it's an easier thing to manage. I'll give one example. When I was managing Le Meridien in Jamaica, I had a sales team of about 15. All of them are ladies. They were very, very good, and I used to do a lot of selling and lot of sales training for them. 15, and the Hilton next door, my competition, also had about 14 or 15. Now what happened is that just think for this for a minute. One day I told the director of marketing, Elena, let's get 3 more smart sales managers, sales executives. So, from the University of West Indies, we train them, we interview them, and she, oh my God, it will be very expensive. I said, no, you're only paying X amount for a sales executive, right? If she sells 10 rooms for the month, I cover her salary for the month. So it's not a big expenditure. But my thinking, Now, if you hire another sales executive, those days selling was very important. Social media wasn't there. I mean, the internet was just starting. I mean, the emails were just starting and the websites were just starting. And this is in mid-90s. Selling was very important. So my point was, I did, okay, come here, sit down. Let's do it with quick calculation. How many sales calls would one of these girls make in a normal day? She said 6. 6 calls, because, go in Kingston and, embassies and all that. 6 calls. All right. 6 calls means how many days for the month they'll be selling. She said, 5 days a week, but eventually once a month they don't do sales, we do the plans and all that. So we roughly calculated 20 days, productive days, when they are not sick and all these things, they are going out to sell. So it's like sending your army out to sell. So 20, right, they make 6 calls a day and multiply by 3 people, we are taking 3 more people. You know how much that came to? Annually, we were going to make 4,320 more sales calls. So I am now going to have 15% more soldiers going out to the market compared to the Hilton, my main competition. So sometimes you have to think of sales differently, not just looking at the cost only, So, number 4 here, what has the greater impact on profitability? So revenue side is very important. So then if you're running a factory making paint or tin or something like that, it may be different, right? It may be more labor cost oriented and things like that. But in hospitality, it's more, is always price and sales strategies appear to be more important. So in number 7, look at this. If your profit multiplier is 10, that means you increase your sales by 1%. It has an immediate impact on the bottom line by 10%. So that's the important thing of this analysis. Controls are okay by focus on sales strategies and focus on the revenue side. Okay, any questions on that before we mute everybody and go to the next one? Okay? What's the time now? We have to go a little faster. I have many slides. Okay. Okay, let's go to the food and beverage management book chapter. One comment on the answers you gave. The gentleman who spoke about the staff, the question about the staffing cost and all that, I didn't refer to that. My point was, I have done a formula for you in this article. Most hotels use this formula. It is in page 323 of the food and beverage management. Go home and look at it. It's a formula. You look at the based on all the factors. What is the level of the restaurant? Is it a gourmet restaurant? And what are the equipment? All those things. Then the bottom line is you do a calculation. Average covers per day, divide by the productivity level, how many days they work per month. Multiply that by the number of operative days, total number of working days, and that gives you a figure, which is the number of staff you need. So when I dealt with a lot of restaurant managers, we call them maitres at the Meridian, they had to convince me that when they're asking for 2 more staff, that is justifiable. So we use this formula. I'll give an example there also. discussed. Sorry about that. Okay, recording. Okay. So the food and beverage concept is not very old. It started only about 60 years ago. I give a lot of credit to a company like Hilton for starting, because before 1960s, there were no people called food and beverage managers or food and beverage directors. There were chefs working in the kitchens. There were restaurant managers and catering managers looking after banqueting. That's it. In 1960s, Hilton came with this concept, let's have an administrator in charge of the whole division. So you created a food and beverage director who has some knowledge about the kitchen, some knowledge about the bars, control systems, running restaurants, about wines, and so he's an all-rounder sort of administrator. They created this thing. Other thing that happened before 1960s, before Hilton intervention, was that people always felt that there are not profit to be made in food and beverage in five-star hotels, particularly. They felt that's something that you must have. You must serve them, have them room service, breakfast, meals, and banqueting. It's a necessary evil, must-have thing. But 60s, they said, no, we want to make money. Let's put an administrator in charge who are good in numbers, good in cooking, good in organizing things, events, everything. So they created this position, which is a very specially designed for someone very dynamic. So modern day, what I'm trying to say in this article, is part of the book. Book has about 10 chapters, that you are doing the basic management function of planning, organizing, controlling. But my whole article, the chapter, gives examples from the food and beverage. That's what I've done. And I, of course, wrote a new concept called M6M, that's managing the, managing the 6 M's. Also, the needs and knowledge pyramid, which I discussed many times. But communicator is a very important thing. That's why I asked a particular question. Now, the role of food and beverage director in the five-star, so far I have given you examples from resorts and 52-room hotels, small ones. But I have been actually F&B manager or director in 4 hotels. 2 are very small, Coral Gardens and Hotel Sea Sands had about 84 rooms. I was executive chef as well as the food and beverage manager. Later in my life, in these 2 pictures, I was food and beverage director for big 5-star hotels. One was Galadari, Meridian, 500 rooms, 10 food and beverage outlets, and I was responsible for 230 employees, including, I think, 4 or 5 expats. I had 2 Frenchmen. My executive chef was French, and there was a Chinese chef and things like that. Then from there, I went to the next picture, the bottom here. That's in Baghdad. I was a food and beverage director for Oberoi in Baghdad. There it was actually bigger. It was only 300 rooms, but there are 11 or 12 outlets, and it was quite a challenging time because just after the Iraq-Iran war. So it's a very challenging job, but a lot of fun, but not for everybody, right? Some of you may not want to. The time I was a food and beverage director, I never went to bed on Fridays and Saturdays in Colombo before 4 p.m., 4 in the morning. I used to be there at the nightclub till the last guest left. When I worked in the Middle East, it was every Wednesday and Thursday. Friday is a holiday, right? So it's an interesting job, but not for everybody, but you may have to have some knowledge about it. So this particular pyramid, we discussed it on the hotel management last week. I changed it a little bit. For food and beverage manager or director, the technical aspect is very important. You should be aware of the wines. And actually, when I was a food and beverage director, I don't pay much attention now to beverages, but I became a sommelier. I qualified in the, Wine and Spirit Training Education Trust in England. I did the part 2 and became a sort of a partly qualified sommelier. So I was able to do the wine pairing and all these things. So a lot of technical aspects. And when you work with chefs, you have to understand. So the fact that I was executive chef before was very good. I could go down to the kitchen and show my burn marks of working as a chef. So I always dealt with the chef as one-on-one basis. And having that strong background in cooking was a plus point. So if you don't have it, you still need to have an understanding, technical aspect. And the general management part is very important because when you're a food and beverage director, you have to think like the general manager. That's going to be your next job. So communication is important. Let me give you one example. I also had, this is actually taken from Galadari. When I wrote the book, I was thinking who are the people reported to me. I had one more person. I had Mr. Ashoka Fernando. He was the former chairman of the Hotels Corporation. He was my food and beverage analyst. So he did more analytical work than the food and beverage control. I'll give you one example. You have to be innovative in communication. My bosses were all French. They came from the Meridian, and my office was next to the general manager's office. My GM always had the executive committee meeting on Mondays at 3 p.m. We finished at 5, then others went home. I, of course, stayed looking out the restaurants and nightclubs and all these things. You know what I did? So all the important decisions he discussed with his vice president for Asia and head office in Le Méridien in Paris, and shared this with 5 people. Executive committee is basically the rooms division director, who was Chandra Murthy. I was director of food and beverage. We had the human resource director, finance director, director of engineering, general manager. That's it, 6 people. They are the top people. So the rooms division, director of rooms division looked after the front office, executive housekeeper, all those people. So all at top level, we were given information. I set up my meeting, that is my departmental meeting, on Tuesday at 10 o'clock after breakfast, 10 to 12, between lunchtime they become busy. My team was 13. So the French chef was in my team, he reported to me, and the banqueting manager, the maitre d's and executive kitchen steward, F&B controller, 13 of them reported to me. I would have the meeting on Tuesday morning. You know why? Monday evening, I got all this information coming from Paris, central office in Hong Kong, all what's happening in the company, all that. I then conveyed those to my team on Tuesday morning with agreement that they will go and brief their teams at 3 o'clock. They had a sort of a stand-up briefing in each restaurant. There were, 11, 10 outlets. And the chef did the same thing, and so within 24 hours, what was discussed, conveyed, what's happening in Meridian, all that on Monday at 5 o'clock, my 230 people knew what they are supposed to know within 24 hours. My French boss, the GM, Mr. Jean-Pierre Caspa, was so impressed, and he will go to have a coffee at 5 o'clock on Tuesday. And some waiter or a busboy will go and say, "Oh, Mr. Kaspar, I heard the vice president, regional vice president will be here in 3 days. And I heard that nightclub will have a new menu." He said, "How do you know?" So you have to be creative to have the communication flow has to be there, because when you're a food and beverage director, you are like a buffer. I represented those 230 people. My responsibility was to convey all the important decisions that they got to know very soon. So sometimes having these charts is one thing, but you have to be creative in making sure the messages flow very quickly. Okay, so that's all about F&B management. I have a lot of slides on F&B events. Right now, just looking at that article, looking at those pool parties and the beach parties and all those things, this is what it summarizes. A lot of team spirit. I consulted people, but did a plan. You can't delegate without empowering. You have to trust people. And sometimes some of the people in this team, I couldn't trust them. I had to get rid of them, right? When I started, I was only 25 years old, but I was like, okay, this guy is not aligned with my strategy. So I said, bye, buddy, I don't think you and I can work together. So you are trying to be a nice guy, but you have to surround yourself with a team that to align with your vision. Very important. And once that is done, I started empowering. No, I trust you. Okay, I delegate this. You go ahead. You organize the elephant and in all those things. So innovative promotions. I'll give a little, it's not in this chapter, but I will show a slide on a checklist that I use for all the events I have done in my life. Start of a party is very important. You start with the bang. And the fun should be for everybody. Employees should enjoy it as I, myself, and the guests. That is what we sort of did here, and that's why it was sort of very, very successful, and people still talk about those. Satisfaction was important. End of the day, I was like a shark. I also wanted the profits. So I had to add some control system. Sometimes we are in a party, so employees, everybody, then you know, some monkey business coming, so you have to be careful. You have to also wear the hat of the controller, you know, make sure the control systems, all this are there. End of the day, Kaisan, every time you do something, try to improve it for the next time. That's the Japanese concept of continuous improvement. I'm going to show a lot of pictures just to tell my story. So what happened to me, I was lucky. You know, when I was a student at the Ceylon Hotel School 50 years ago, I managed to get into the best hotels in Sri Lanka at that time. So I was a banquet waiter at Ceylon Intercontinental. I was a busboy at the Mount Lavinia Hyatt. It was the first hotel to have an international brand in Sri Lanka was Mount Lavinia Hotel. A lot of people don't know that. In the early 70s, it was Hyatt. I worked there as a busboy. 17 years later, I went there as general manager. I also worked at the Bentota Beach. I actually did 10 jobs during my 3 years at the hotel school. Most of them were in food and beverage, either cooking or serving or bars. So that was helpful. I mean, not that everybody likes that area, but I sort of like that. I found it dynamic. So when I graduated, I was a trainee, I was executive trainee chef at the Bentota Beach, and I was exposed to a lot of cooking and starting Sri Lankan food festivals and all these things. And this is from my article series. If you have not read these, I can send you the link. So I talk about when I was a trainee chef, you know, how I like that dynamic. It's a dynamic job, you know. You can see the people getting happy with your lobster buffets and all that. And at 21, I was very lucky. I got promoted. I was executive chef, managed a very strong union in Coral Gardens Hotel. But I had a lot of fun. So I record all these things in a series of articles. Now I'm in chapter 40, actually, just came today. So these Coral Gardens, and I was looking after the restaurants, bars, but I was executive chef and assistant manager, food and beverage manager, all that combined together. And then at Sea Sands, I used to serve people, right? I mean, not every day. I used to train people, but all the baked Alaskas, rum omelets, flambés, all that. So if you're not a hands-on type of manager, food and beverage is not for you. You have to show the staff that you are equally good as them or better than them in, you know, any type of service. Then when I became a manager at Hotel Sony, I was 25. I surround myself with very young hotel school graduates or trainees. All these people became top managers in the industry. And we focus a lot on, it's like showbiz, you know, you have decorations and, you know, and everybody is smiling and, you know, that is important. I was lucky. My last article, today's article talks about this trip. You should read that. When I was 25, I never been outside Sri Lanka. I only knew Sri Lanka. I've taken 2 domestic flights to Jaffna and Trincomalee. That's it. My chairman, who's Englishman, Mr. Bostock, he one day asked me, and he was very impressed with what I was doing. I was dealing with the thugs and all that. He said, Chandi, have you been to my country? I said, no, sir, I never traveled outside Ceylon. Within a week, he arranged a full 2 months training. I was lucky. Sometimes, you know, luck has to be on your side. So I stayed in this hotel called Regent Palace, which is the largest hotel in England, I think 1,065 rooms or whatever. I was trained as in food and beverage at the Cumberland, which is 900-room 5-star hotel. This is in the summer of 1979. The first thing I learned was I went to a meeting with 20 food and beverage managers of all London hotels. They were planning Christmas. And I was not used to that. We started thinking of Christmas in December. This is in August. They are planning, discussing Christmas. So I came back. I copied some of the things I learned in London. I worked for Trust House Forte. At that time, it was the biggest hotel chain in the world. I was a management trainee. Came back, implemented. Did the sometimes you learn some best practices. Keeping it here is no point. I have to share it with my team and immediately implement it. Then, of course, I got promoted. When I was 27, I got promoted to John Keith's head office. I was the manager of operations for 7 hotels. I was in charge of food and beverage operations. Not important, you know, just make sure everybody had the sugar containers, everything brand with the Keith's brand, you know. So that is early parts of John Keys Hotels. There were only 2 people in the head office, director operations, I was manager operations. I took over Selinko Hotel. The moment I took over Selinko Hotel, I realized this is a gold mine. You know, Akasakade, the best hoppers in Colombo. Car park gets empty in the night. I converted the car park to the first sidewalk cafe in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. It was called Parahara. So all the sailors, everybody used to come, a very rustic type of a restaurant. So I always try things. And then of course, John Keys sent me to Hotel Intercontinental in Hong Kong to do a food festival. I was, because of my background as a chef. So I got a lot of experience in different countries. So in Hong Kong, I spent about 2 weeks there, setting up this humongous food festival, Sri Lankan and Maldives foods. I also appeared on TV. I used to do cooking demonstrations of Sri Lankan. So I felt I'm like ambassador. I had to put the flag, Sri Lankan flag there, and popularize our food. And, you know, so this for the TV in Hong Kong. Then, of course, I changed. I mean, a lot of people who joined me as management trainees at John Keys continued and, you know, became board members. I wasn't that interested in that. I found it a bit boring working in the head office. So I left. I joined the hotel school after that as a senior lecturer. Because of my background, I didn't have many qualifications, but I was hired as a senior lecturer. So this is exactly 41 years ago. I was a senior lecturer teaching, and some of my students have retired now already. They are top F&B guys. With that, I was lucky. I got a lot of scholarships and things like that. So I had training in food and beverage in Italy. I was in Turin Center. This is in south of England. I was trained in the whiskey production in Scotland, and I was trained in wines and cheeses and food and beverage management in France. So I happen to be very lucky. I got these opportunities. Sometimes I sort of push myself for these opportunities, not to brag, but just to tell that all these, everywhere I went, I picked some ideas, best practices. Can I use it here? Can I use it in Colombo? Then the hotel school also sent me to Singapore. We did a huge food festival in Singapore. It's called Magic of Sri Lanka. We took an elephant in the plane. Actually, it was a gift from our prior president, Chandi Jayawardena, to Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore. So we had it in this Goodwood Park Hotel, which is like Golf X Hotel, a big food festival. This is Singapore. This one I did today. I want to share it with you. I hope you will read this. This one was posted on Facebook by someone who was my previous boss. He's Sri Lankan. His name is Wilfred Beeragoda. He gave me opportunity when I left all those John Keys senior lecturer and became a banquet waiter in London because I had to do my master's. And for 2 years, I did odd jobs there. So it was also difficult. Sometimes managers can't go back and convert themselves to do practical jobs. But I quite liked it. I worked at the best hotel in London. This is something I posted today on the Facebook of this gentleman when he posted this photograph. So take a minute and read it. I just want to thank him today. You can see that, right?
Yes, we can see the presentation slide.
Okay, just read that paragraph. I just typed it just before this thing on the Facebook. Someone posted that picture. I never seen that picture of myself. So what I'm trying to say is sometimes our pride, we are very proud that we are doing this, achieve this, I'm a manager, but sometimes that time getting a master's degree, I invested every penny I earned in my 7 years in my as a manager for that degree. And it was very important to me. But when I went to England, I said I was a manager. I was manager operations. I managed 7 hotels, a senior lecturer in food. They don't care about that at that time, and they were biased also. They said, oh, no. We need some bus boys and part-time banquet waiters. So I did all that. But when I was a waiter, I was chosen to serve the Queen of England. And, I have pictures. It was a good experience. I was trained by Musiman. He was the best-known chef in England. And then, of course, whatever I learned in that great hotel helped me to become a food and beverage director. You have finished reading this? Yes? No?
Yes.
All right, I change. Okay, so this is Dorchester. This is waiting for the Queen to come for his royal banquet. I had to shave my beard, which I don't like to do, but sometimes you do. So I had to change, and look pretty. This is Savoy. Savoy was previously the greatest hotel in Britain. This is me. So I got used to these big 5-star theme parties and things like this in the Royal Banquet Hall, etc. So this is Savoy. It's equally a great hotel. From a banquet waiter, part-time waiter in London, my next job was general manager of 2 hotels for John Keels. I managed 260 rooms. I had 320 staff. I was in Habaran. I was like the king of Habaran. These 2 hotels, Lodge and Village. This is now Cinnamon Lodge and Cinnamon Chaya. A lot of people go, my gosh, you are 31 and you are now general manager for 2 hotels. That's it. Rest of your life, you rejoin John Keels. That's it. You settle. I did this show for 1.5 years. I was totally bored. There was no challenge coming from London. I wanted to get into 5-star hotels again. So after some time, I changed. I joined Galadari Meridian. There, I discovered show business. I will tell you this story. How much time do we have, my friend? My gosh. Okay, I'll be very fast. There, I joined, I think, in June. The hotel was packed, all banqueting, the weddings, we have 5 weddings a day and 1,201 sitting, and I was all excited. But come August, banquet hall occupancy goes down. I did the occupancy percentage for the banquet hall. In month of August, it went down to 20%. People don't do that percentage. I said, we have 13 private dining rooms and a banquet hall which can have, say, 800 people with the whole area, 1,200 people, one sitting. I started brainstorming. Sometimes you don't have the answers. You speak with your team. I brainstormed with the managers. Not many ideas came. Then I brainstormed with the supervisors. Then brainstormed with the banqueting people. I want to fill the banquet. We want to create some functions if we don't get bookings. I then got an idea. Let's brainstorm with the musicians. So I had all these people on contract. Sohan and the Experiments, Noeline, Apple Green, a lot of, DJ Eugene, all the people. I brainstormed with them and they said, Mr. Jayawardena, why don't you do a show? What type of a show? Musical Stars of 86. That's the first show I did. I had no idea how to do a show, but I learned from these guys and I was a producer. That show made a lot of money. After that, every month we did Island Music Awards. I created the fashion model of the year competition with Seneca Silva. We filled the ballroom with all these events and made so much of money. This picture was actually a cartoon done by Ishan Baha. Ishan Baha was a top musician. He's an artist as well. So in one of the shows, they gave it to me. I was the food and beverage director. And I became their friend, musicians.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. We have only 10 minutes.
10 more minutes. I'll go very fast. Okay. So this is, I started training the musicians because I found that musicians are good. They are our partners. I treated them as partners. But then I said, I can do a workshop because I can teach. We did a seminar for musicians, giving them some practical skills to be successful, how to convert the marketing concept to music and all that. So we did a lot of fun things. Then I'll go very fast. So this is a food festival I did. I was the coordinator. I also did most of the cooking. I took 2 cooks from Galadari Meridian. We did it at the Sheraton in Oman. And we took about 50 people with us, including Mangala Innocence. He was a minister in Sri Lanka. He just passed away. This Mangala Samaraveer, right? He is trained as a fashion designer. So he used to work for me at that time as our fashion designer. This is in Oman doing the Sri Lankan Food Festival. Then I left them because I had a problem, not a problem. My executive chef, Emile Castillo, he is a Frenchman. I was his boss. When he went to France for his annual leave in 1986, I signed the leave sheet. But his salary was 6 times bigger than mine because he was an expatriate. So I went to my boss, Frenchman. I said, I need Emile reports to me. How come he gets 6 times my salary? Well, he is French. I said, yeah, but I'm his boss. I should be paid more. Then he said, it's okay, Chandi, I understand. We'll make you expat. We'll send you to France for training. Sometimes you have to fight for your rights. Just because, I look different, I can't be paid 1/5 of his salary. Chef reports to me. He's my employer, my subordinate. So I fought with my GM, and he said, okay, we'll send you to France for training. You come back, and then we'll transfer you to China or someplace as an expatriate food and beverage director. It didn't happen, so I told him. Eventually, I got offer, and I went to Obro in Iraq. This is us before an Indian food festival at Obro. From there, I went to England to teach. Professor Richard Kotas hired me. I registered for my PhD at that time in 1990. So I went to England. I started teaching in this university. And my job was to do a lot of food and beverage, wine tasting. These are my students, master students. From there, I also did some teaching in Switzerland. That was particularly interesting. Switzerland is considered the headquarters for food and beverage standards. And I was honored that they would ask someone like me to come there because I had all these experiences, come and teach them. So most of the students came from Asia. So I used to be a visiting professor in early 90s in Switzerland. I used to do like 2 or 3 months every year there. Then eventually I said, okay, I'll come back and work for 3 years. I came on a 3-year expat contract to manage Multipliers Hotel. There we did some fun things. This is one small banquet, but we serve the classical French menu, which has 13 courses. So I had a chat with Publis, was my chef. I said, chef, we want to do something special. And we had the special table in the entire ballroom. All my managers, plus we invited the journalists. So they will go and give us a lot of publicity. And we also set up our own hotel school at that time. I'll talk about it next week. They did the service. So when they graduated, they were exposed to something nice to know, but something very unique of serving the classical French menu of 13 courses. So each course has a different wine pair. Then there, I also was exposed to BMICH. I was in charge of BMICH catering for 3 years. I did 2 jobs, general manager, Multipliers Hotel and BMICH catering. So there I started doing now shows at a bigger level. BMICH, you can have 1,506 people in the auditorium. So each show came with food and beverage package. They buy the ticket and they get their drinks and snacks, patties and cutlets and all these things. So that was a different experience. I took the showbiz to a new level. Then I left. I got a job with Trust House Forte, who trained me years ago. I went to South America. There, because now I learned how to do shows and food and beverage events so much, I used that to get to know the local population. So this lady was my co-producer. We produced the biggest show that country has ever seen. We called it Lights in the Forest. And this was, I think I showed some pictures last time as well. Then we did other things. I learned about the Caribbean culture. We did Caribbean food festivals from different islands. Then I trained all my staff on Sri Lankan food because I was told I want to train them. After that room service, I will always order Sri Lankan food, biryani and chicken korma and chicken curry. They were all trained. So we did a food festival for 3 days. Then from there, I went to Jamaica. There we broke a record. We organized our Christmas record was 100 events over 38 days. We told everybody in Jamaica, we start Christmas in Pegasus, the hotel, the main 5-star hotel, on 25th of November. Everybody else, Hilton, Hyatt, all the people, 25th of December. We start 1 month before, but we did 38 events. Each of my managers in charge of 3 events. So we took that things I learned at Hotel Swanee on the beach, we took it to a new level in a foreign country using everybody. And my staff was so motivated, the managers. I'll show some pictures. Every event we performed, managers, staff, union, everybody. This is me coming as Count Dracula for Halloween. This is my son. He was 10 years old then. This is the Latin American Food Festival. We had it in a ballroom. Everybody had a role. I came as President Castro. This is my bodyguard. Then Colonel Perron. And we all managers went. It's a 5-star hotel, very formal. But we created a resort atmosphere. Jamaicans just loved it. They like showbiz. So all the managers, we got people to come and choreograph our dance, train us how to dance. And they said, wow, the manager, general manager, everybody are performing. They like that. People like showbiz. You don't have to be boring hoteliers with wearing bow tie all the time and just doing these management things. You have to have fun, but a lot of hard work. And Christmas we do a show, and I came as, I think they put me as Joseph for that one. So you had to dress and and then of course we did a huge Sri Lankan food festival, and this became our logo. And we dress all the Jamaicans in sarongs and t-shirts with this is Guineaka. Put Guineaka on the t-shirt. They loved it. And then of course there were about 25 Sri Lankan families. Each one I called and said, "Oh, come and you make the hoppers and all that. I will train you." It was a big success. They still, when I go to Jamaica, they still talk about the Sri Lankan food festival. Then, end of that year, I was a member, executive committee member of the Chandi, that's a French organization for gourmet food. And we did, I think, a 7-course menu in our ballroom. And then that particular event, we did, normally hotels, Sri Lanka also has this chain. When they do a function, it's only for members. It's sort of a nose-up, very expensive, most exclusive menu. I said, no, we are spending all this money. We are converting our ballroom, which is, I guess the ballroom is bigger than Hilton Ballroom in Colombo. Converting that to a fortress and having a theme and all these people serving and I said, let's do it for 3 days. And the first 2 days, we sell tickets for public. And that became the food event of Jamaica of the year. We got the award from the newspapers. This is what I want to focus on before, more than questions, this is important. This is my checklist. Whether I organize Miss Jamaica beauty pageant or model of the year in Sri Lanka or a Sri Lankan food festival in Guyana or a beach party on Beruala beach, this is what I use. I developed this based on my experience. You should look at it. It has the 25 points in a structure. So it comes under product, you formulate the product. Then you have the pricing decisions. It depends on what sponsorship you get, what is the strategy, what the discounting thing, and the communication is the key. I'll tell you an example. When I was at Multipliers Hotel, we organized 6 New Year's Eve dinner dances in 1993. No one has broken that record in Sri Lanka for last nearly 40 years now. 6 New Year's Eve dinner dances. We had one in the rooftop, one at the terrace. I put Sunil Perra, Gypsies and Steelers to perform there. 900 tickets. Ballroom had a dance. Regency Room had a dance. Little Hut had a dance with the DJs. Then we had 2,000 people, kids, dancing on the Paradise Beach. 6 dancers. Now, promoting that, very important. At that time, telephone operators, they are the first one who take the orders. I used to personally go there with the food and beverage manager, brief them what is going to happen on this day. 6 New Year's Eve dances. Because I didn't want, I tell the food and beverage manager, he tells someone else, and someone else send a memo. They don't understand. You go there, joke with them. I had 6 telephone operators there, Mountain Hotel. Tell them this is what we are trying to achieve a record. I want to get 3,000 people on that day and break a record. I want your help. Anyone calling? This is the script. So sometimes you do the events, but you don't do the communication part. You have to manage the process and promote it like a marketing guru. And the day of the event, all the events I've done in my life, day of the event, I keep my schedule free. I don't want anything, any meetings, nothing. Because suddenly something might go wrong on 31st December, So I'm free to solve problems and coordinate, And suddenly chef gets into a bad temper, then I go and talk with him and put him in the place. And then this part is also important. After the event, you don't forget about it. Kaisan is important. You have to keep on improving. So you get the customer comments, arrange the publicity. You do a full review. I call it a post-mortem, like a dead body. Do a post-mortem, profit analysis. And then that goes feedback for the planning again. So this is my checklist. When I talk about a checklist, I'm talking about something like this. So you don't miss anything. So you can look at that. And the last thing I want to tell you, I have 3 more slides. One day I heard when I was in Jamaica, so we have won the food event of the year, and then everybody knew me and my team, and we made a big name. We nearly got into the Guinness Book of World Records for organizing 101 Christmas events. No hotel has tried that. So we did all these unusual things. Then I heard Caribbean Hotel Association. They have an annual event where I used to go, attended by about 2,400 people. Normally they have it in Bahamas, Puerto Rico, or Cancun in Mexico. The other destinations could handle so much. All the hoteliers went there, and we had like 3 days of events and parties. They decided to have a culinary competition for all the 32 countries of the Caribbean. All right. So when I heard that, I said, okay, how does it work? They said, oh, we have 2 people from each country. The executive chef, the most well-known chef, and he or she has to bring his boss, general manager, as the commie. Understand? So it's a team of 2. It's called Pro-Am. Professional is the chef. Amateur is the general manager. I said, okay, we are in. I talked with my chef, Leon, and I said, okay, let's go. I said, not just taking part. And he was chosen to represent Jamaica. So I was blessed with that. I said, we go there, Leon, and we are going to win it. How are we going to win it? We practice every day, because most of the general managers couldn't cook too much. They were, they went to Cornell and, top universities, but came there. They didn't have the background that I had, hands-on background. So I said, Emil, let's plan this thing. We did 3 sessions of practice sessions in the kitchens in Jamaica. We created a new dish. You have to create an authentic dish. We call Sunset Jamaica. It's a pork dish, pork loin dish. We practiced and went to the competition, and then we were shortlisted. We were in the final 8 team, and we had to cook in front of 2,400 people. So this is the cooking part. This is my chef. He is a Jamaican. But I did most of the cooking, and then he was comfortable with that. He made the sauce and I did the cooking. That evening at the final gala, we won the best culinary team out of 32 countries. And that was a very important moment in my life. So this is a trophy, we are winning it. We are all in black tie. And that was, so in food and beverage, my background has given me so much of happiness and joy, but hard work. It's not for everybody. My question now, how many of you answered this? Okay. What I'll do is I will end the slides, and then I'll check how many people answered this. If you're not answered yet, please answer yes or no. Next week is my last session with you. We are going to discuss all these 4 things. We are going to combine. Everything depends on people, your understanding of people, important people. And that's where you get success for hospitality. So that's my final webinar. I hope all of you will be there. Now it's nearly 12 o'clock here. So I will send you my assignments for you tomorrow. This one just came. You should read it. I'll send you the link. It's called Colombo, Bangkok, Frankfurt, London. That's my having managed places in Ambalangoda to Matara and Hikkaduwa, Bentota, Aludgama, Berola. Now I got an opportunity of going overseas. So this is my story. I hope you'll read it. You'll enjoy it. And question time now, we can maybe spend about 5 or 10 minutes for questions. And Ishara, we can spend about 5 or 10 minutes extra, right?
Yes, sir. Now it's 10:35. We can have 5 or 10 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes. Okay. Have I stopped sharing now?
Still, we can see the slides.
Okay. So I will. You can still see the slides. Okay. Stop share. All right. So you see me now?
Yes, sir. We can see.
Okay. If you're not answering the question, please answer. I'm going to check the chat room. Let's see. Oh. After the power failure, it has gone back. So I made a note last time. I think about 70%, roughly about 70% of you said yes. That means that it is important for a general manager to have a strong background of food and beverage, right? And you said yes. Few people said no. My answer, you'll be surprised. My answer is no. It is not a must. I just happen to have that background. And when you are trying to progress as a general manager, you have to look at yourself in front of the mirror and do a SWOT analysis for yourself. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Now, I did that when I was 25. My strengths were, I was hands-on. I was a good chef and I knew food and beverage very well. That was my strength. My weakness was I could not talk too much in English. I did not know marketing, or I was shy. I could not speak. I want to do something because I want to be a GM, do something about those three weaknesses, improve my English, learn to talk, learn to give speeches. And I think I've done very well in that direction. And marketing, PR. And I eventually became a chartered marketer. So my first PhD was actually in hospitality marketing. So I did all that I did with a plan. These are my weaknesses, but I used my strength. So whenever I became a general manager, I didn't have to cook in Bahamas and win that competition, but that's what I did because that I was using my strength. So everybody has different strengths. But if you want to be a 5-star hotel GM, what you must have is some appreciation of food and beverage operation, some respect for what they do, the chef. So you have to get along with them. As long as you understand, respect, and know a little bit, that's fine. You don't have to be expert. So my answer to that question is no, you don't have to be expert. I happen to be expert, and then I use that to my advantage, but you don't have to be like me. All right. So with that, we can take a couple of questions if you have any.
Yes, I'm Danushi.
Yes, Danushi.
I have a small problem with our Q&A session.
Oh, what's the question problem?
Okay, so you have mentioned about one of the question we have was if you are the director of food and beverage of a large 5-star hotel in Colombo, how would you determine the staffing levels of your restaurant? So you have mentioned that we have to get the answer from the formula, but I don't know if we have misunderstand the question, but I also went through the same answer the person who gave.
That's okay.
Really
Don't
can't his
worry about it.
name.
This
No,
is
no,
a
I'm
learning
just-
process. People make mistakes. Just read page 323. Try that formula, and that works. That has worked for my whole life. So that is how you determine how many staff you need in a restaurant. So if you give the different answer, that's okay. Don't worry. I'm not feeling like you. All right.
No, just confused because that's the way, and I have pointed out the important factors all. So I just confused.
Okay. Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. You were not penalized for that. So you look at the factors, but I want you to now understand the formula. Try the formula. It's a very simple, basic formula.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And you
Thank
can actually
very much.
use that for any other department as well, right? You use
Yes.
so you don't use average covers per day. You use other things. How many? What's our occupancy? How many receptionists or guest service agents do we need if we are having 100 check-ins? So you can use that. So sometimes these formulas, you have to think, look at it with a pinch of salt. You can use the concept for others. So don't worry, you explain the factors very well, so that's fine, not a problem.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Any other questions?
Doctor, good morning, doctor. I joined.
Oh, yes, I also got disconnected.
Initially, I joined the lecture and I was cut off.
Yeah, they said you were there, and we miss Lanin also, Lanin and you. Wow. Any other questions? But you also commented on Facebook, so you're okay. Don't worry, mate.
Yes, Rohit, checklist, I uploaded the checklist. You were asking me the checklist. What is the check as the F&B manager? If you're arranging a beach party, what are the checklists that I have commented on that?
Yeah, that's okay. Don't worry. So what I like to suggest is for my last week, if most of you can answer things on the Facebook Global Hospitality Forum, we will have more time for the lecture. That's what I'm trying to do. So just go there and comment. And I am very prompt. If you make a comment there, I immediately discuss and then ask another question. So if you communicate, have a dialogue there, that is fine. That will you get full marks for the last question, and it'll be much easier. Okay, Ishara, I hand over to you if there are no other questions.
Thank you, sir. And at the end, I would like to add something that I have learned from this session. So food and beverage industry, or the food and beverage, I see like an iceberg. As a customer, you can't see the what is underneath of the water. As the employee, like operational level or the trainee, you can't see what are the things in the underneath of this iceberg. But when you discover more, you will climb the ladder more in your career, right? I think I'm correct. So as a food and beverage, as the people who work in the food and beverage department in the hotels or in this industry, we have to discover what are the things underneath in this water, in the iceberg. So if that possible, definitely we will be in upper level in our career within a short period of time. So thank you, Professor, giving much more advices and sharing your valuable experience that allow us to study more best practices, what you have done in past, in internationally and locally, and we can apply those things in our career also. And thank you, Professor. I think all of you have get great idea regarding food and beverage management and the best practices that we can use there. And this is the end of the session, and we will meet next Sunday with another invaluable session. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Wish you the same.
Thank you.